the SM Media Podcast Network.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Horse Racing Show. I'm Scott McPike. It's always a pleasure to be your host, and we've got a fairly busy kind of weekend coming up. It's kind of 4 days of action. We don't have kind of declarations for Fairyhouse yet, but we'll discuss obviously the big races at that meeting, and we'll look back at what's happened over the past week. To join me, as always, it's a pleasure to welcome from the Scottish Daily Mail, Callum McClurkin.
Hi there. Yeah, it's definitely all happening in the racing world. You know, it's difficult for punters this time because you're betwixt and between seasons. So I mean, the jumping season, you're at the tail end of it. You're kind of trying to figure out, you know, what horse, what yards have kind of had enough for the year, and the flat is kind of like, you know, what yards are in form, hitting form early on, and which ones are going to improve from it. So it's probably a time to tread pretty carefully for punters when you're betwixt and between both. Keeping an eye out for everything. But I mean, tail end of the national season for the Grand National, Scottish National, now into the Irish National, and then you've got your kind of Guineas trials right now. So the flat at the beginning of May. So yeah, it's interesting how they all knit together.
Let's start at air. We'll go first, obviously. Scottish Grand National, 1-2 for Willie Mullins. Not the best race, obviously. Turned into a massive grind for a lot of horses. The horse with a bit of pace, brilliant ride from Harry Cobden, Captain Cody winning for Willie Mullins. It wasn't a great watch, was it? It was a bit of a bad situation, I thought.
No, it was a hard watch. It was carnage, really, from start to finish. You know, Silly Quest going down at the first, and it kind of had that domino effect of a lot of mistakes, a lot of horses pulling up, a lot of, well, I mean, two fatalities, unfortunately. The Nip Hand, who was going quite well, crunching fault second last. And last year's winner McDermott pulling up, having a fatal injury as well. So it was pretty grim viewing, to be honest. Wonderful ride though from Harry Cobden, the winner. It's Captain Cody, and he was kind of like a mini Iron Maximus, really.
Yeah,
properly at the back, bit of class, stamina, and one going away when only 8 horses finished, which was quite something. You know, he's probably got a decent future ahead of him. I'd imagine like there'll be greater national prizes in him next season. He looks like one that could be an entry horse next season.
obviously as well. There was like a couple of nice things about it as well. Like obviously Michael O'Sullivan and rode him twice in December and January, and I think the chat was obviously before his tragic death that he was going to be riding him in the National Hunt Chase. I think that was the plan with him. And then like Harry Cobden comes in, takes the ride at Ayr. Brilliant thing as well. Did you hear the thing he said he had to put on a girly voice because he only gets on well with Jodie Townend or something?
Yeah, he only wins for Joey or something like that. Yeah, so that's Willie Mullins' sole instruction to Harry Cobden through it. But I think it's a big win for Harry Cobden as well, because I mean, I think with all these horses that Willie Mullins can send over for big races, you know, I think his name might be at the top of the kind of spare rides book for them, because for the team Clissurton, because I think it'd be utilised a lot more, and particularly if Paul Nicholls starts having horses that aren't really aimed at the Cheltenham Festival and big races like that. You know, he's obviously going to be used as a spare, because I think he is probably the classiest rider in Britain.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And the race after in Quebec, well, you know, he did it from the front, you know, and dictated from there. So I mean, he could do it from the front and the back. Usually accustomed to doing it at the front, but it was a lovely patient ride in a race where, you know, it was you could have been caught up in a lot of mayhem, to be honest.
Yeah, like again, I backed Sorry Quest. He kind of fell at the first, and Wise Guy just never really got going at all. We just pulled up. It just wasn't a great watch, but again, good ride from Harry Cobden. Other kind of performances at here, obviously, Kraken Rhapsody, that was no flash in the pan at Kelso. He's went on to win a Scottish champion hurdle. We also saw Masaccio went out to 10-1 to win the novices handicap chase. He deserved a win as well. It was obviously a pivotal weekend in the Trainers' Championship. We'll get into Cheltenham later, but again, Kraken Rhapsody, like again for obviously local trainer as well. Brilliant story for him this season.
Fantastic, and this is one of the horses of the year. He's won back-to-back more battles, and he's won a Scottish champion hurdle up here, and he's ran with credit in some really hot handicaps down south as well. You know, he ran mid-pack in the county hurdle, and you just think, oh, the handicapper's going to get to grips with him and have him covered, and then he just pulls out a little bit more. And he was really brave when he stuck his neck out at the line. Okay, the market principles, Cabrel de Matin aside, disappointed, particularly the Willie Williams brigade in that race. And I mean, Ethical Diamond get way too keen. He's never ever settled at any point and didn't give himself a chance to really get home properly.
Val Grand did a bad fall as well. No, obviously fatally injured as well, but that was a bad fall.
He died later on, which was again quite sad because ground was probably quick enough for him. But I mean, you're in the Trainers' Championship, you're going to take your chance anyway, aren't you? So yeah, that was a heavy fall. Unfortunately, he passed away a few days later. Persian Time was another one that sadly died earlier on. So it's a constant reminder that you can do all the best that you can welfare-wise, but I mean, you can never really eliminate the complete risk out of national hunt racing, I'm afraid. But yeah, I mean, I think Kraken Rhapsody is probably one of the horses of the year locally. It's because the way these prizes are being found by top operations pretty consistently these days, to do that locally is quite an achievement, and he could still keep improving. You know, he's a very, very hardly solid type, but I think he'll continue to kind of nick these prizes as well. So massive credit to the Willens team there.
Just on to kind of Newbury on Saturday as well. Like we saw, there was 3 kind of Grade 3 races. Sunway was, I thought, going best in the first race at Newbury. Obviously, was just done by a bit of fitness. Divina Grace won that. Duty First won the Fred Darling, and then obviously John Quill for Andrew Balding winning the 2 Darn Hot Greenham Stakes. Like, any of those kind of worth following going forward?
I think John Quill was the best of the lot in terms of going forward. But Juneman have won practically every trial going so far, so they've got a bit of splitting up to do. I'd imagine that would be a French Guineas horse.
Okay.
I think that's where we'd probably go. Bit of cut of the ground would be useful. Won that trial pretty impressively, but I think that horse will go to France.
Okay. Jan Brigul, obviously last year St Ledger winner, was beaten at the Curragh as well. I imagine kind of maybe just a tune-up run. A lot of O'Brien's horses need their first run, beating at odds on. Like, do you think Melbourne Cup, obviously last year was a bit of a riot the way that turned out. Do you think Melbourne Cup's a kind of long-term plan with him?
Yeah, it could well be, but I mean, a mile 2 in reappearance, you know, it had every indication this was too short, and people going in odds on there, you know, got their fingers burnt, and I didn't really make much sympathy because, you know, it was never ever the plan. The problem is, I mean, his head carriage though, when you looked it back, it was pretty high, and he didn't really gallop to the line either that much. I mean, you'd expect a steer to be outpaced and then close to the line. He never really closed either, and there wasn't really a lot to kind of glean from it at all. He got upset before as well, and to lose an unbeaten record like that is still pretty disappointing. Regardless, yeah, I'm a bit kind of worried for him this season after that a little bit in the future. I mean, Melbourne Cup, it's a long-term plan, but I mean, you'd have to do so much better. I know he's at time and everything. It's just a starting point, but his attitude, I didn't really like. Maybe a kind of Group 3 or something like that. Getting back and try one of these kind of over a more suitable trip, and you'll see him and see him in a better light. But kind of worried about the Ledger can be a race that can leave a mark. And he was a young, raw horse that was the most progressive in the Ledger, but he was also the one at the time where I thought, does he want this severe test this early in his career? And might have left a mark in the back of my mind for him for this season.
Okay. Well, just obviously a quick word on Sunday. We saw Musselburgh as well. The Sky Bet series was back. A lot of high-priced horses winning. A few 12-1, like Only Spoofing won as well. Clear Force, actually, a horse that was quite well fancied for the Carol Butt team, was beaten at odds on as well. And then just into Tuesday, we obviously had Newmarket. Kind of flat was back the first day of the Craven meeting. What do you think of Persica?
Well, I mean, I think that was probably one of the bets of the weekend there, the week there, because he was just primed for that, and Richard Hannon made no secret to it. So yeah, I mean, he's going to win these kind of Group 3s, small field targets like that. And I think that's his limit. I don't think he's going to win anything massively fancy. When he can dictate small runner fields around kind of Newmarket, Newbury, places like that, Grade 3s. I think that's exactly what he's buying. I mean, as a future prospect, I don't really make a great deal of him. I think that's kind of what he is, really.
And Zanjun, obviously, you mentioned Judmont's kind of ability in these kind of trials. Zanjun obviously winning the Nell Gwen for the Gosdens. Good ride, I thought, from Kieran Schumacher. Was very keen at the start, and then he managed to kind of keep her at the back and made good headway and won it by just over a length. What do you think the kind of long-term plan is there? Like, do you think they're maybe looking at maybe Irish guineas, anything like that?
French guineas.
French guineas.
Seems to be the plan there. Yeah, she won quite well. Celestial Orbit ran pretty well in second. Arabian Dusk ran pretty well in fourth. The Criswells, that could be a Commonwealth Cup horse. She wants to come back and trip without a doubt. Yeah, she's not the biggest filly in the world. She come from normally be a pretty moderate start at Southwell, jumped up massively. One of these Gosden types that's trained on from 2 to 3, and she did it wickedly impressively with a good turn of foot, and she'll come on for that as well. It's tended to be a good race, I mean. Catch won it in 2022 and went to the Guineas and caused an upset and won that. So it can be a good trial, but I think she's probably more a French Guineas type, and that seems to be where connections are leaning.
And just into the Abernathy as well on Wednesday, we saw Sagier winning for Andre Fabre. Obviously, I thought another good ride. I think it was a good ride the week by Oisin Murphy. We had a conversation just after it where, like, you don't think the British sprinters are up to much at all?
Well, they're absolutely terrible. And this horse is the fact this horse can come in from France, not really be much of a sprinter form and have a bit of race fitness outside, and it was okay, half a length win, but it was really comfortable. Lethal Levi dictated, came back a little bit at the line. Carol Boxyard lead the run, obviously won the Gold Cup, so I mean it's not lofty group form. Oisin Murphy said that they could go Old Diamond Jubilee, Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee at Royal Ascot with a horse. You'd probably need to find a little bit more than that, but if anything comes from Japan or Australia, Hong Kong, South Africa, they'll absolutely muller our sprinters. I mean, that's why I think it's a really poor division at the moment.
Have we seen the 2,000 Guineas winner in the form of Field of Gold?
This was fantastic. I love this performance. This was very, very good. And I think I'd imagine they'd have to take a chance in the Guineas after this. Beat Wimbledon Hawkeye 3.5 lengths. Very stylish, coming from the back, trap for a run. But Kieran Schumacher angled him out plenty of time, and he just whooshed away from them. He looked like beforehand the horse that would improve the most for a winter off between 2 and 3. He had good 2-year-old form. Everything went wrong at Longchamp in the Lagardère, where he just set off too quickly, too fierce, and it kind of went wrong from the ground, maybe being a touch softer than ideal as well. But he already had decent juvenile form in the bank. He looked like a type that was going to improve. And, physically, fitness-wise, he's going to improve for it because John Gosling said he had him 80% fit, really. That was a kind of niggling doubt from a betting perspective to take him on the day because he was going to treat it like a trial, like a genuine trial where regardless of his finishing position, he's going to improve from it. And I think that's a big thing you've got to take in consideration because if he's going to improve from that significantly for the Guineas, then he's one to watch. He's now at the top of the market. I think rightfully so. Aidan O'Brien's got Twain there.
I was going to ask you that about the Aidan pair.
Shadow of Light at Applebee's as well. I think the Colts look stronger than the fillies at this stage in the Guineas, but Field of Gold definitely on that evidence. And the fact that he's going to improve from it as well is rightfully the new favourite.
I was going to ask you about the O'Brien pair that seem to be going down the Guineas route. Twain and Expanded have been mentioned for that. Like, out the two, do you prefer one to the other?
Probably Twain. I think the market's probably right in that. Neither of them have really kind of blown me away too much. Because obviously there's a lot of chat about the Lion in Winter that he might be a Guineas horse and it'll go straight to the Derby, and him missing it kind of seems, well, it's this Felix kind of number one stuff, and in the last few times he's not won the 2000 Guineas since 2019. And mainly because a lot of his stable stars have had one run and no run going into it, bombed out and haven't gone the early pace. And they had loftier reputations than this. So, I mean, I think Field of Gold's the right favourite. I think he's the one to be with at the moment. You've got to kind of see final fields, declaration, draw, pace, ground. I think ground will be important. I don't think he wants it rattling quick. Field of Gold, I think, that drying good ground was pretty useful to him that day. What was it? I thought it looked like a good trial beforehand. Maybe not full of types that were obviously going to train on. I think Wimbledon Hawkeye was probably more of a 2-year-old, more of a forward 2-year-old, ran with credit. So won the Royal Lodge. So I think he's probably ran to that level again without really kind of building on it too much. The Godolphin duo, bit disappointing to various degrees.
You worried about Charlie Appleby's form at the moment?
It's pretty in and out. I mean, their big hitters seem to drift pretty markedly over the 2 days. It's a good lesson not to really get too heavily involved early doors because I think Newmark HQ, Godolphin tend to boss that. And if you back them in the morning, then you were pretty stuffed because they were drifting out, like a bars. A lot of them were ridiculously fresh. A lot of them were keen. So a lot of his best ones might be coming on for the run. But then it was reported that Desert Flower put in a brilliant piece of work.
Yes. For
the 1,000 Guineas. So maybe he's got certain ones that are at forward. And I think the kind of the Dubai operation as well, there's an increased focus about that yard abroad in the Middle East. They target that a little bit more than at home these days, and maybe that's part of it as well. So it's quite hard to get a handle on it. I wouldn't be concerned if it dragged on into end of May, start of June, into Royal Ascot, then you would be. But I mean, I think it's just a case of they're probably needing it because a lot of them look too fresh, and a lot of them are like blew at the gates, for instance, and that horse that came from the all weather that was favourite ridden by James Doyle that was picked over Amori City. I mean, Amori City, the form in the bank, but I mean, he travelled as if he was going to. They both went to post, and one was ridiculously keen, and the other was absolutely half asleep. So I just think they're probably not at where he wants him to be because there's bigger goals down the line, and it's trial stage. Your best horses aren't going to be 100% right now. They're going to improve later for the bigger prizes in the summer.
I was just going to have a wee word as well and get your thoughts on kind of Kieran Schumacher. I think like a lot of people, and I don't disinclude myself in this, were thinking, is he the guy long term to be the Gosden jockey? And I thought this week in the early season so far, I think he's been terrific.
Yeah, no, he was good in Field of Gold, good in the horse before that as well. And I mean, I think there's always talent there. You just need time to kind of find a level and adjust to these things. And the more opportunities you get, the more likely you're going to take them. I think Gosling's probably didn't have the horses last year. This year, with Sir Michael Stoute retiring, he's getting a lot of the judgment kind of horses from there. So he's probably got already a better crop of youngsters than he did. And they'll improve fitness-wise as well. So, at Field of Gold, he did look their best 2-year-old, really. He's been campaigned at the Sandown with Solario, and they went that route with, Cape Cross and Kingman and things like that. There is shades of Kingman actually about him, his sire, and the way he kind of quickens and goes through things. 2,000 Guineas isn't a race Gosling's won yet either, but he's been very close, and the only British Classic he hasn't won, but he's stuck with Gail Schumacher, and he's not giving him the kind of bona fide number one title, and I think that's eased the pressure as well a little bit on him. He's disappointed in a few kind of high profile rides. Emily Upjohn probably being the most significant one over the summer, but he's been allowed to kind of learn from that and improve from it, and that's what he seems to be doing.
Yep, absolutely. We'll go back to the jumps, Whitley, and then we'll go to the jumps and then flat again. It's that kind of time of the year, isn't it? We're just going for kind of one to the other. But just to Cheltenham, obviously, big day for Dan Skelton winning the silver trophy with Risk in the Ground. Obviously, beating O'Moore Park doesn't put him back in, it puts him back in front. But you would still think Willie Mullins probably has the edge. But he needed that win, I think, Skelton.
Yeah, it's a 40 grand prize. He's at 30 grand in front now, or something like that. I think he's got more up his sleeve this year than he did last year. By this time last year, it was technically over because of air, but he stayed in front and he's kept his nose in front. And, Willie Mullins will now be scratching around maybe his B-C team. He didn't really have a good Perth, did he? He might aim more at Plumpton than he normally does, because there's a bit more money there. And then it's into Sandown where, is there a kind of Manila Kakuna-like type that can win that might get him over the line? So it seems pretty set to go at the last day, and yeah, it's a decent enough lead. I think it's 2-9 Willie Mullins, 3-1 Dan Skelton. I think that's a bit of a wide disparity, to be honest. I think he's a little bit better than a 3-1 chance to somehow get over the line. Obviously, it's really hard to gauge because you don't really know what he's going to try and bring over, and is he going to prioritise Irish National this week to the degree that he did before? But yeah, and that was a good one, Risk in the Ground. He obviously won at Ayr as well, so he's been back to back quite quickly. So if there's another couple like that, Holy Smoke, for instance, I'd imagine has been absolutely primed at the Bet365 Gold Cup. Now, if he wins that, then he wins it. I think it's over, Dan Skelton. So I wouldn't rule him out. And I think he's more of a kind of 9-4 chance v 1-3 rather than 2-9 v 3-1 for the Trainers' Championship. I would say. I still think Willie Mullins will probably win it because he's probably got too many bullets to fire if he does, and he seems pretty determined to do so. But I think it'll be very close.
Just want to get this out as well. I had the first two winners yesterday, and I'm not bigging myself up, but I've not had the first two winners at a meeting for a long, long time. Jacks Jr. obviously bouncing back from the Albert Bartlett to win as well. East India Express, I thought just the wee drop and trip helped as well. Thought a really patient ride. Cheltenham turned out to be quite a decent day. Long Draw obviously winning as well. Man of the People was a good winner for Fergal O'Brien in the 425. And King William Rufus, a horse that's maybe threatened to challenge as well. It was a lot of horses. A good day for punters on Wednesday.
Yeah, it was a good day for me until Long Draw and Harbour Lake was a lovely 1-2, and that turned things around. Jacks Jr. East India Express just benefited from being an easier race down in class, really. Simple as that. They both did quite well to win. Sprucer was backed into favouritism in a race that I didn't really have much of an opinion on. In Long Draw, he's a kind of archetypal stayer, isn't he? He races behind the bridle, bumped along, you think he's in trouble, and then all of a sudden he comes home and wins pretty handily by 2 lengths. I think he's a decent horse going forward. Okay, I don't think he'll be graded material, but he wins by only what he needs to, and the handicapper might not quite get a grip of these horses. And Per Thompson next season, You would look at him off the pace, with a strong run race. That's what he seems to like. He knows versatile ground wise. I think because he beat the right horses. Harbour admirably consistent. He was in the peloton pulled up, but he bled from the nose that day. Alan King's-Yard had Masaccio beforehand. Young Saturday won. They're in decent nicks. It was no surprise that that consistent take kind of bounced back to place. And Mr. Hawkstreet was well back. Third didn't quite see it out. Harry Skelton probably made his move a little bit too soon, and long draw tracked him and beat him up the hill. Didn't like the hill, so I think he's more interested in a flatter track over 3 miles. But I think that was a good little race because the top three were really kind of the right three, and they pulled pretty well clear. And man, the people winning that race again, back to back, fourth time in a row. Fergal Ryan's won it.
Yep, absolutely. We're recording this on Thursday, so there's a good mares card that obviously Cheltenham, which will be quite powerful. St. Lucy's obviously entered as well. A lot of prize money up for grabs there. Friday as well, pretty much all weather day in Good Friday, where 10 races in ITV. So again, there's a lot to get into. Like anything you like on Friday, like this will probably go out after that, but let's pretend you're Mystic Meg and pick one.
Well, I won't pretend because all weather's not my bag
Nah,
at
it's
all.
not mine either.
And if I'm betting on it, it won't be at Lingfield, and it won't be at Chelmsford. So Newcastle, it looks more interesting for opportunities, and just backyards that are in form at this stage of the season. Andrew Balding, for instance, being one of them. Followed up jockey bookings and firing appropriately. Newcastle tends to benefit by being drawn high against that far rail. It's a bit quicker ground. I would just kind of look at that at the moment. But yeah, it's exciting. Like the Easter Monday as well. There's a good kind of Easter card that puts all weather racing in the front focus, but I haven't really looked at it. And Chelsea and Lingfield wouldn't be in my top 20 tracks to bet on. Never mind top 3 that day.
Saturday, obviously, we've got Musselburgh. We've got a good card at Musselburgh as well. Scottish Sprint Cup. We've got Virgin Bet Queen's Cup as well. Well, we don't have declarations yet by the time this is recording. Anything kind of long term maybe been catching your eye for that?
Well, I'm interested what Liam Swagger does if he goes here, because I think that's kind of been the plan. He would go there and it's kind of East India Dock. There's rumours that he was kind of maybe being tilted at a Chester Cup or something like that. So that's interesting because James Owen is a proper kind of dual purpose horse. The Johnson team usually have a good record in this. Whatever they run probably will be quite significant. I mean, Align the Stars is a very young progressive horse. Andrew Baldwin might say while waves over, he'll be prominent in the market. So yeah, it'll still be kind of wait and see. There's a good chance he'll get probably maybe good to firm ground. It should be fair for everyone, but yeah, it's a really good race worth $100,000. That's well supported by the sponsors.
Yep, just one I fancy at Haydock I was going to touch on. I like the flyer Begley for Gary Hammer and the Veterans Chase at 3:15. I think he's been very consistent this season. I think the marker 125 is quite decent. Some good runs. Jack Hogan obviously claims 3, so he'll be off obviously off £3 less. Been good form this season as well, and just I think at this point in the season, I think this might be his bag. I think good ground. I think kind of good to soft ground. Says good ground, but we know with Haydock it can be good ground. Probably isn't good ground elsewhere, but I would say this is a decent chance for him as well. Risking the ground, he was third to him at Bangor in September. Has really benefited for a wind up. Had run a lot this season. I think at kind of 6-1 if he is declared, I think it's a good chance.
It could well be. I mean, all these veterans races, you're kind of looking for horses that are still going with enthusiasm and can be bothered with it, really. Yeah. Limilos was obvious skeleton kind of angle there. I mean, that's kind of maybe his kind of trip with a forceful ride. You can see that suiting, but yeah, I wouldn't put anyone off anything if they spot something here that likes to go with enthusiasm. That isn't spotting a horse in veterans races that isn't obviously on the downgrades a big plus.
Well, obviously, the main focus this weekend is obviously Fairyhouse. We've got a 3-day meeting, 2 Grade 1s, and obviously the Irish National on Monday. Saturday, they've got a good card as well. But we'll go to Sunday first. 2 Grade 1s. We'll start with the Willow Warm Gold Cup. I am looking at the card here. Willie Mullins looks to have a very strong hand. Again, we don't have declarations yet, but Ballyburn is 11-10 here by the looks of it. Callum, I don't think we'll disagree that it's probably his best trip. I think he's the best horse of these. Are you willing to risk 11-10 on Ballyburn bouncing back?
No, not 11-10. No. I mean, his jumping fell apart at Cheltenham. He's not convincing over fences. Tactically, it went wrong. Maybe a kind of forceful ride here, and he'll be fine. But he's the trip really should have been a problem at Cheltenham levels. At Leopardstown, was he crying to come back to this? Maybe not. And 11-10. I'm not sure. I quite like Spindleberry. I like the mare. Getting £7 isn't far away from them on all known form. Won her last 2. Last time at Fairyhouse, 2 mile 6, thrashed by Luminescence, who was pretty well regarded. And the 3rd and 5th run at Cheltenham today, which might boost the form and give further confidence. But I mean, her jump was quite sound. She's improving, pretty unexposed. Also won at Cork, aging out Majestic Force, Iris Emery. She does need to step up in that massively, but I think she's potential to do so. And the rest, a lot of the market leaders here don't really convince with her jumping. Steel in particular, I know has been off and freshened up. Il Atlantique blotted his copybook the last day. I think the market will be informative whatever he runs. Champ Kelly could conceivably go well. Jockey bookings will be important. Down memory lane, if he gets a freebie, could come back to form as well. So it's an interesting little race. I think Spindleberry might be the best value, might be the most solid if she runs.
Yeah, the one I quite like maybe at an each way price is Common Practice for Joseph O'Brien. Obviously beat High Class Hero, who's gone on to win since. Some decent runs. I thought as well he's kind of been kept fresh all season. Looked to really enjoy it last time out. I know it was a pretty weak race. High Class Hero was very, very short and his jumping let him down. But you look at kind of Joseph's record in these kind of graded races this season, they're usually, if he's aiming one at it, he's usually getting them right. You know what I mean? It's not like he's just throwing them in. There seems to be like a plan. I don't think Ballyburn is a 11-10 shot. Could win, probably should win. But I think at 12-1 Common Practice, for what he's done this season, I think he's worth an each way shot.
Yeah, he's also won at Fairyhouse as well. It's plus this way. And another thing that's worth mentioning here is keep the ground. The ground at the moment's yielding nothing good, but they've got 25 millilitres of rain coming, so it could be pretty soft by then. So that's going to change markedly.
Yep, absolutely. We'll move into the Honeysuckle Mares Novices Hurdle, and quite an interesting race. Obviously, we've got Air of Entitlement in 6.5 in the rematch as well. Aurora Vega and Maureen look to be going for Willie Mullins. But the one that is catching my eyes at the top of the market, the big Westerner who was very good when she was second in Albert Bartlett, looks to be dropping back in trip. You've mentioned about the ground, 6-4. I think she's certainly a better bet than Ballyburn.
Nah, I don't like her either, really. I mean, second in Albert Bartlett, she wasn't looking as if she wanted to come back and trip, was she?
No, but the ground will probably come up okay for her here.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough of an equaliser. Air of Entitlement won the Mares Novices Hurdle, which looked a good race. And she needed 2.5. And I think she's a lot quicker and a lot more progressive than the big Westerner, who looks a 3 mile chaser to me.
I can see Maureen running an absolute storm, because how many times do you see a horse disappointing at Cheltenham? I know obviously she was completely shafted, but then going on to put a real good performance in and get you excited for next season. I think I can see that happening here.
Yeah, possibly. I don't think she's done really much in the form book to merit her kind of status at the moment, but she wasn't given really the opportunity at Cheltenham to do so. So yeah, she could bounce back. It's Mares Novices, if any of them could kind of come up out of the blue. I mean, Caroline Bamboo, I thought shaped pretty well at Cheltenham this week and beat. And I think the Mares Novices hurdle form at Cheltenham's definitely the form line to follow. And I think the winner of that's the one to beat, because I think the trip will help her confirm form with 6.5, who's probably a more fluent, speedier jumper. But
Imagine jockeys just stay the same. Darrell being the Big Western and Rachel keep the ride and even entitlement. You'd imagine.
I definitely think so. And, it's a honeysuckle. Niels Novice says it's going to be a race that Henry de Bromhead's going to target, and his string is in reasonable enough form. They still stay in form. They kind of tend to tail off at Punchestown a little bit, but they can still maintain their form right now. I think Air of Entitlement is the one to beat, and the danger might be Caroline Bamboo over 6.5 at this trip. But the Big Western, if it does come heavy, she'd come into the equation a little bit. Albert Bartlett form, Vinyasam Devoy, it's slowly kind of been fracked, isn't it? A little bit. It didn't look the strongest of races. We had Jax Jr. pulling up, who come out and won at Cheltenham yesterday. But it's usually a hard race, and she did have a hard race there, and it's a harder race as well than the Mares Novices Hurdle to back up. And I'd rather be in Air of Entitlement personally.
Okay. We'll move into Monday, where we've obviously got the Irish Grand National. There's a couple of graded races obviously before that as well. Juvenile Hurdle, we don't have prices for these at the moment, but again, we've seen some good horses come out of this in the past. Like Willie looks to be running, Blue Lemons and Sonny Bill both disappointed at Cheltenham. I don't think this is as classy as it was last year. There's been a lot better renewals of this.
But they all go to Aintree, don't they? Really, and if they don't, they go to Punchestown. They don't. This isn't really kind of considered. Maybe Blue Lemons, because there was. I think he's pretty well backed for the Triumph. Really, just didn't turn up. Is there anything really out with that? Yeah, probably not. Preparations could be anything for the Slattery yard. But you'd have to think that even if it's still a weak race, you'd have plenty to find here. So yeah, it looks a pretty unappealing betting heat at the moment. But I think Blue Lemons would probably be the one that Paul Townend would be leaning towards. I think he's probably the one to beat as well.
Yeah, there's also two more Grade 2s. You've got the Rathbury Hurdle and the Memorial Fairyhouse Chase. Obviously, there will be a column going out on Monday, so check that out. We've got the Irish Grand National at 5 o'clock. Again, always a really good one. Of the people say about Easter Monday, it's a day for relaxing. This is the highlight Easter Monday for me every year, and this year will be no different. I'm very much looking forward to this. Anything you like in it?
Well, I quite like Sama Jess at a price.
All right, okay.
In this, I know they'll be talking up High Class Hero instead, but I just think you get left behind in the Kim Muir third because of the ground. But he jumped really soundly and efficiently from the front, like you would like it. And I think he just wants a touch of soft ground to be competitive. And I just wonder if he was ticking over with a view for this for Willie Mullins and JP McManus, because all the money that day came for Johnny Who, get chinned by Daily Present, because he made a big mistake at the last. I think that might have been the plan for that horse, and this might be the plan for this horse. He's obviously got plenty of other options. This owner and the trainer's got a few others as well, but I think 140, 7-year-old soft ground seems that he's going to get, which is important. I wouldn't back him if it wasn't soft. Jumps pretty efficiently. It's this young, unexposed profile. He's on a weight that a lot of horses have 10-1 in the past off recently. And I think he might have a touch of kind of hidden class about him. And he's back at the site of his win 2 starts ago as well. So they might have had Fairyhouse in mind from a good way out. And I think it's a real workable mark. I think it's an exciting profile. I think it's a decent price for what you're getting connections. At 20-25 to 1 bracket each way for him, I think it's a very, very good each way bet. David Casey says he's going to certainly go. They've talked about High Class Hero over him quite a lot. Now in the Mullins yard, that means absolutely nothing. So I think that's. I think he's the clear bet in the race. I'm not saying it will go out of plan, but I really like his profile. I don't think he's an Iron Maximus, but he gives off a whiff of it. You know, he might be a bit steer like he might be a bit slow, but Iron Maximus, he was punted into 8-1. He wasn't obviously well fancied. He was off 11-1. And he also had a rating of like 149 coming into it. He ran in snatches as well, like Sam Jess could, but he didn't really at Cheltenham. He looked much better, and yeah, he's just got that kind of profile like Lord Lariat had, intense Raffles, Burrow Saint to a degree as well. It's kind of young Earl Duke. These kind of young horses that can just improve and deal with this test. Shut the front door. 6-7-year-olds that can just win this and have a touch of class unexposed, but they're not weighted out of it either. And I think he's kind of one of many in the horse with that profile. But I think with connections as well, and with the rain, with the heavy rain that's meant to come as well, that should really be all in his favour. And I think he's a sneaky good price. I think I wouldn't make him favourite, but I mean, I would make him kind of close 12 to 14 to 1 instead. So I think 20-25 to 1 for what you're getting with connections, knowing that he's been at Fairyhouse. He's got the right kind of Mullins profile, recent winning profile for this. The Yarder picking up every big race going at the moment. I think it's a pretty good price.
Okay, so Sam Jest for Callum. I think one maybe at the bottom of the weights now. It's not sure that he'll get in, but I think with this rain coming, Canal End for Peter Fahey could have a good chance here if he gets in off 129. Very, very good performance last time out when winning at Navan, where he beat Cheerful Chat. Was second to answer to Cave the race before that in January. Looks to be the long-term plan, just obviously might not get in. Probably won't have Mark Walsh on board, or I'm imagining he won't. But looking at the likes of like Simon Torrens has been on board, I'd imagine I'd be quite happy with that as well. Just one of those like we've seen a lot in the past few years with these. It can sometimes be horses, as you say, who go under the radar for small trains. Obviously, Dermot McLaughlin won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord Lariat's still in here from what I can see, so I wouldn't rule him out each way either. But I think Canal End, JP McManus is bottom, I think, recently. So just looking at that, in terms of consistency this season, 129 seems a fairly workable mark. It's just if he gets in, I'd imagine maybe a few come out and he probably does get in. And if it does rain, I think soft ground will help him. I think he's got a good chance if he gets in here.
Yeah, he needs 7 to come out. But yeah, he's again another kind of up and coming unexposed horse that could go really well in this, and Peter Fye can definitely mark one out. So yeah, not the. I mean, the better days ahead's interested at the top of the weights. I think he's got a lot of class. I think K154 and conceding the weight all round is definitely going to make life tough for him. But I think he's a good horse. I don't think we saw him to best effect at Cheltenham third in the Brown Advisory. He jumped okay in the main. Softer ground's going to help him. I don't think we've seen a good light that day. I think he can make the grade, and I think it'd have to be a graded horse to win this, but he could do. He's probably going to be popular at the market for Gordon Elliott. Another one in the 20-25 to 1 bracket I'll give a shout is Mint Boy.
Mm-hmm.
He gets in 25th in the list at the moment. He was well punted for the Kim Muir at 8 to 1. He kind of had a soft unseat. I mean, the fifth man of the People's come out and won that. Sam Jess third, Johnny Who in there second, Daily Present won that. I think that's probably a strong race.
Yeah, I think
Grosney sixth, he was fourth in the Scottish National. Wise Guy was running quite well till he didn't stay. It looked a good race, and it was a pretty soft unseat. He was backed into 8 to 1. He was kind of hunted out the back by Barry O'Neill, going absolutely fine, really. And he could have taken a hand, and I think he did take a hand in the finish. He's down a pound into 137. Going right-handed shouldn't be an issue either. He's been kind of quietly ticking away, and he's definitely got a big prize in him. So I mean, out the Cromwell lot, I was quite intrigued in him. I mean, at this stage, I would really back Sam Jess and Mint Boy each way. Both are about 20 to 1.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought Mint Boy had a good chance at Cheltenham. He was just too far back and just made a bad mistake, and that was it.
That's
But
a
now there's,
mistake,
there's
yeah.
definitely talent there. And 137, I think, still a good mark. But again, very, very fascinating race and very fascinating week ahead. Callum, any kind of big bets elsewhere apart from what we've kind of discussed before we wrap up?
No, there's a lot going on. So I mean, there'll be a lot of late market moves, and I think you've got to kind of keep your powder dry as late as possible. There's also good cards at kind of valuable money at Plumpton, the
Yeah.
Sussex Champion Hurdle, and things like that. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of plates to spin for people. But Sam Majes each way is the only horse that I've really backed at the moment
Yep.
for the Irish National.
Yep, absolutely. But we will have columns going out Saturday, Sunday, Monday as well. Callum will have his picks on social media, so follow them as well. We'll be back next week. We'll take a look at Sandown as the jump season comes to an end as well. Very, very good flat card on Friday as well. Always look forward to that. Callum, always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks again. Catch you
And
then.
we will see you all soon. If you want more racing content, subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels. And as always, follow us on social media. Thank you very much.